This will be the talk about neuroscience and especially the neurochemistry and Rajyog meditation. So it will be in English majorly, and as sister has explained, it will be translated simultaneously into different languages. So usually I speak fast, but I'll try to speak as slowly as possible.
Great.
So before we start, let's have a minute of silence in Baba's Yad. Om Shanti. So before I start, and before I go into the depth of neuroscience and neural chemistry, uh, as sister has introduced, I came into GAN 15 years ago, and I was still a university student. I was then 21 years old, and I was very confused with my life. I did not know which direction should I go after my bachelor's is over. And then, nearly at the same time, Awakening with Brahma Kumaris, that people would know, a television series that started back in India. And it just happened to me one day. It used to be telecasted every day at 4 in the morning, Indian time, 4 in the morning. That's when Awakening with Brahma Kumaris started. And one day I just woke up automatically, and it would never happen that I would switch on the television. Never happened. Never happened. Woke up at 4 in the morning and switch on the television. Never. That day I did. And I was changing the channels. Suddenly, suddenly, Sister Shivani's voice came from television. And she said, "We expect the situation to give us happiness." And that was my quest. What and how, what makes us happy. So where is my screen? Can anybody see the screen? I think it disappeared. Yeah. Can everybody see now? Yeah. Okay. So, and also just people are in the waiting room. Do I have to admit them? It's coming as a notification.
No, 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 no.
Okay. So
Don't
I'll
worry.
just continue. So, and then the voice came to me. I felt like an arrow came from television and hit me here. And it was such a crystal clear point that yes, this is the way you need to go. And next day I woke up at 4 again, listened, and when they would speak, it was like 15 years ago. It felt like peace is flowing from television to me. And I was 21 and 22. They shifted the program at 7 in the evening. No matter where I was in the world, I was studying, I would be back at home by 7. No matter how I need to go, I need to be back at home by 7 and would take notes, whatever she's speaking. And my thought process was, it's nothing new. This is just being confirmed what I already believed in. The Gyan was not new for me. It was like, yes, it makes sense, it makes sense, it makes sense. Then at one day, I was very confused which direction should I need to go further. Should I go like proper corporate? Should I go do research? I was not sure. Then I was in the university one day, one fine day. It was 8:30 in the morning. I turned around to enter my classroom and I felt sunrise, sunshine on my face, and a touching came from Baba. Very clear. Bache, you need to study neuroscience after this. I was so shocked. It was like somebody actually spoke in my ear. crystal clear. And I had no exposure of neurobiology since by then. And then I started looking, okay, Baba said it. Baba said it. And I was then just trying to know who God is and what is my relationship with God. It was the early, very strong intoxication days. I said, Baba said it. I need to go further with this. And then I got a scholarship to do masters, and then scholarship to do a PhD, and then I now in Berlin. I'm currently being training to be a therapist now, psychotherapist. So which is integrating everything together. That also came with its own set of circumstances that happened. And when I was studying, I saw spirituality and science together. I saw there is no difference between the two. Very interestingly, during those days, I understood that Baba also said in the Murli, experiment and then believe. Baba said, this is the truth. Experiment with this truth and then see how the truth comes to your life. And then it came to me that, yeah, I was experimenting in science, experimenting in spirituality, and both the roads were parallel. There was no difference between the two. And the more I experimented on both sides, the more the roads became very, very mutual to each other. Then I looked deeper how, how and why, what happens, actually, what happens when we think, what happens when we feel, what happens when we experience positive thoughts. And the most important part was the center that I was it was in a small city called Gwalior in India. I don't know if anybody here would know that. And that city had a lot of scientists, a lot of agriculture scientists. That city had a lot of research-based scientists. So, and they used to come at the center in the morning. And I saw what what are they seeing, which I'm not seeing. And that curiosity made me go further and further, deeper into study of both science and spirituality together. In the recent years, there has been a lot of interest in understanding Raj Yoga meditation. In 2020, there have been some studies that were conducted in India by Manipal Institute of Technology, which is in the southern part of India, and they conducted experiments on long-term Raj Yoga meditators. They took the sisters and the brothers from centers and the retreat centers who have devoted their life to Raj Yoga meditation, and they went deeper. What happens in the brain? What happens biochemically? And how do everything changes when we come into Baba's knowledge, when we come into Gyan? And what happens? The most fascinating part of the story is what happens in Baba's Yad to my own brain, to our brain system, and how does it changes itself over the period of time. So Raj Yoga meditation, we all know, is open eye meditation. It is very different from transcendental meditation or Sahaj Yoga, which is done basically with eyes closed. So what we feel changes the chemicals in our brain. So in the decade of 90s, 1990 and 20, a lot of focus was given on positive thinking. A lot of focus was given. Positive thinking. You can change your destiny by positive thinking. And there would be one book after the other. Someone would have a different way of saying the same thing, and it became a very big market of positive thinking. But nobody said about positive feeling. Positive thinking just comes and then goes. because it is still at the thinking level. It is still at this level. What changes with the Brahmin souls that come with Baba, that fall in love with Baba, the feelings also changes. And when the feeling changes, that changes the chemistry in the brain. It's not the thinking. I can think positive, continue to think positive without feeling positive. There's a difference between. So Baba has given us so many ways to feel positive instead of just thinking positive. Positive thinking is very transit. It's for a very, very short term. Positive feeling that makes us go back to Baba again and again. Because the feeling connection that we have with God, that starts to change our behavior, that starts to change our attitude, and that we would experience, that starts to change our destiny as well. Because once in Baba, Baba's knowledge we are in, our destiny, our choices of career, choices we made over the period of time has changed because the feelings have changed. And when the feeling changes, our brain chemistry starts to change. Thinking, brain chemistry will change and come back to the same. Change and come back, change and come back, change and come back. But when the feelings changes, yes, we have accepted it. So, hmm, what our brain is made of. I'm talking about brain chemistry. Our brain is made of these tiny particles, which are called neurons, which actually looks like this. The purple thing that everyone sees is called the cell body, and this is called the axon terminal. So the signals like this is one little dot here. You this thing, the cell body is one little dot. This is the brain of an animal that we were doing experiments with, and we are stimulating currently the animal with the salt solution, and you could see the firing of the brain. So our brain fires like this all the time. So when this thing fires, it generates an electrical signal. Baba also says current. Baba gives current because our brain starts firing when we come in connection with Baba. We find very strong connection with Baba. So the brain starts firing. Our brain fires anyway throughout the day. I am I am speaking, you guys are listening. I observe what's around me. My brain is constantly firing. So these neurons, they never shut down. They are always active. So the electrical signal will come from the cell body. It will travel through these yellow parts, which is called myelin sheath. And in the axon terminals, it travels to different neuron. So from nucleus, it travels to terminals, and then the next neuron is activated, and then the next neuron. When everything puts together, it makes our lovely brain. This is the brain which is split in half, and this is one half of the brain. Sorry. So what happens? Our brain is divided into different pathways, different parts, and these parts have their own special function. So if you see the pink is the frontal lobe. This part up till the middle of the brain is frontal. There we plan things. We plan what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen 20 days later. We plan things with this part of the brain. Calculations we do from this part of the brain, and um, coordination with other human beings. This pink part of the brain is responsible. Then we have the central sulcus where all the sensation from the body go to. The sensation from my hand, my feet, my heart, internal and external organs, they go to the central s- sulcus. And then we have the hindbrain. The green area makes us see things. So in another study, people have shown um, this part of the brain, which is responsible for seeing and visualization, actually gets activated during Raj Yoga meditation. I'll discuss it later. So this green part of the brain, because we connect and visualize with Baba, we always experience each other as a point of light. So this part of the brain also gets activated, the green part. So the main part which is responsible for changing our feelings is the central part. This part, the creamish one, this part is responsible for changing our feelings. There, all our feelings, all our emotions here, all our feelings, all our emotions, they are processed here. How do we feel? What do we feel? How much do we feel? What to feel? All these Kalyugis and scars of anger, frustration, everything is felt here. Interestingly, this part of the brain, it developed first in evolution, and then other parts cover it, and then it became our full brain. The interesting part is to remember this. This is called pituitary gland. This is very important for any kind of meditative practice, especially Raj Yoga meditation, because this this part is the seat of the soul. And if we put a how do we call a stick from here and stick from here and a stick from there, they will meet exactly at this point. This is where the soul enters the body at the final trimester of pregnancy, and this gets in connection with the pituitary gland. So when the life in the child comes, when the life in the body comes, pituitary gland starts activated. Pituitary gland here is very important. Why? Because this gland is responsible for the connection between mind and the brain. Mind, brain, and body. This is where this interplay happens. And Baba constantly asks us to focus every day, sometimes Murli 3 or 4 times. Experience yourself as soul. Experience yourself as soul. To bring the attention again and again, again and again, to the point where all the life started. So the projection of this soul comes here in the center of the forehead, because we cannot really show. If you put this picture in anywhere in Madhuban that this is the soul, people will definitely get scared. So what is inside my head? So the projection of the soul comes here. This is the reason we focus here. We're not focusing in the center of the forehead. We're focusing at this in the center of the brain. This is the seat of the soul, where the soul sits. And it constantly receives soul. Once it is the body, it is active, constantly receives all the information from every part of the body. Constantly. There's no, it doesn't miss anything. So this part, which is called the thalamus, which is so close, it remembers everything, everything. And for Brahmins, for many births as well, but especially for this births, every sensation we have felt since we are born, it remembered it. That you felt this way when this thing happened, you felt the other way when this thing happened. What it does, when the sensation comes from all the parts of the body, it sees, okay, if my leg is hurt, the sensation is coming from the leg and there is pain. So it will decide where that sensation is going, to which part of the brain is going to process that sensation. The thalamus is very important. As I always say, thalamus keeps the score, because it remembers everything what has happened throughout lifetime. Interestingly, and this little thing you see, it is called corpus callosum, and this is the thing that connects the two brains together like this. And in this area, All our emotions are processed. Everything is processed in this area below it. So this is a very important part of the brain. Interestingly, this is also called the seat of the soul, which is hypothalamus. The soul actually sits hypothalamus. Hypo means below, which is just below the thalamus. So, so neurochemicals, they what is their role? How does it changes the chemistry? Trying to remove the laser pointer. Yeah, this should work. Anyway, so neurochemicals, they are responsible for communication between the two neurons. So one neuron will release certain kind of neurochemical, and that neurochemical is accepted by other neuron. Currently, as I'm talking, there's a lot of communication change happening between the two. So one neuron is so this one. So one neuron is releasing a certain kind of neurochemical, and another one is accepting it. Yeah, this one. Yeah, you can see there is a crosstalk between the two neurochemicals. One is releasing, and the another one is accepting it. The entire interplay in Raj Yoga meditation and in our life comes from what kind of neurochemicals are exchanged between the two neurons. Are the one that are responsible for making us experience pleasure, or are the one making us experience pain or sadness or happiness? So every emotion is linked to a neurochemical. People have gone to so detailed extent that every chemical is every emotion is accepted, either is how would it is actually associated with either one or a combination of neurochemicals. So this is where the entire game of neurochemistry happens. This exchange is responsible what we feel when we sit in Baba's yard. This exchange is very important. So depending upon what is being exchanged in between these two neurons, people have majorly studied four different kind of neurochemicals. They are the major studies one, and this is the most important slide for the talk. So the most common one, extensively studied, extensively used and misused, is dopamine. Whenever we scroll our phone endlessly, scrolling, they are actually activating our dopamine pathway. So this scrolling of the phone, because it has something that we like in those reels and on Instagram, on social media, it has something that we like. It is always full of so much of voice, colors, something that the algorithm knows we like. So dopamine, it gives us instant reward, like having that going to the center and having that Brahma Bhojan. Dopamine is released and it motivates action. Like for example, we know when we go to the center, we will feel good. So we plan our day since morning so that we go to the center. And throughout the day, until we go to the center, there's a release of dopamine. Yes, you will feel good. You will feel good. Go to the center, connect with Baba, sit in meditation, have your chart. Whenever we are in some, whenever, because when we connect with Baba, with the feeling of positivity, especially with the feeling of love, especially with the feeling of connection, especially a friend. any relationship that is very rewarding to us, then dopamine starts releasing. It's very common. People go for running. Running is also a very important way dopamine gets released. Eating ice cream, chocolates, very high release of dopamine, very high release, especially when nuts release a lot of dopamine, especially when we crackle something. When we crackle and we hear the noise of crackling, we have the release of dopamine. So this is the reason Baba gives little tolis throughout the day. So especially and I like the dry toli when you're given in, I don't know what it's made of. Something that is like cornflakes, but sweet ones. That Baba gives dry toli with a cup of tea. That is so good. Even that motivates me to go to Mathwan. That motivates me to go to center, and I take a lot back. So, and in all that process, dopamine is released. Serotonin is very heavily studied neurotransmitter, and it gives us the feeling of well-being, wellness. This is a common neurotransmitter, which is how would I call, which is targeted during antidepressants target. Their main role is to increase the level of serotonin in the brain. And what the most important thing I found recently, because I'm also being trained as a therapist, the regulation of nervous system. It, this is very important because this brings the Brahman family together. So when we sit in meditation, so Dadis have also always said that in Hindi it's called Sangathan ki Shakti. In English, it's the power of community and the power of constant yoga when everybody sits in the yoga together. So they talk about the power and what happens with that when we sit with people that are already high in serotonin level, that are already feeling very good. Then our nervous system matches the level of the people who are around us. Same. If somebody is very stressed, we will start matching our nervous system to the stressed person. If somebody is very happy, joyful, when festivals are celebrated at the center, it's a joyful day. You have the Rakhi celebrations, you have Diwali celebrations. When the family comes together, everybody is joyful. When everybody is joyful, it starts connecting with other people with that joy. So it will never happen. Never, ever will happen. A soul coming to the center deflated and leaving deflated. Never it will happen because the vibrations, the people who are in center committed their life, constant working on themselves. So the baseline of these neurotransmitters is already very high in everybody, especially when we are collectively bringing together with each other with a common goal. So everybody's like, yes, we need to be Sampoon. And what Baba has given us a very high aim. Match your nervous system with Avyag Bap Dada and Baba, not with even brothers and sisters. Match your frequency to Bap Dada, not even brothers and sisters. Because Bap Dada's Bap Dada doesn't have a body, but when Brahma Baba was in the angelic stage, very balanced nervous system, every neurotransmitter functioning at an optimum level. So, and then what we do, we start matching our nervous system with that. And then when serotonin is active because we are feeling well and the other person is also feeling well with us, it automatically release oxytocin. Oxytocin is was originally considered as a women-based neurotransmitter because then it's a connection, very strong connection between mother and a child, and huge release of oxytocin takes place during even the childbirth. But now it has been found even men have high level of oxytocin, especially if they are connected with a common good, like people who are singing in opera. They will together have very synchronized level of oxytocin, and people coming Brahmin family coming together, they will have connect same level of they will connect themselves with the same level of oxytocin, so it enhances connection. And then this is recently I did my entire PhD studying this gamma aminobutyric acid neurotransmitter, but never saw how it connected to GAN. But recently it just touched me. It stops the excess. So if you look at the Murlis from before COVID, even and 5 years or 6 years before COVID, whenever Baba would arrive, um, he would always focus. All these Murlis were focused on reduce waste, reduce waste, reduce waste. So when we are reducing waste, we are activating GABA, and that neurotransmitter, it reduces excess firing, reduces anxiety, and then on top of that, Baba not only says reduce, Baba says reduce and remember who you are. Reduce and remember. Reduce and remember. So we not only reduce the excess energy of the brain, we enhance the neurochemicals in the brain. We enhance the level of oxytocin, enhance the level of serotonin and dopamine. Right now, for example, how I'm feeling the vibrations are coming from my head into the screen. So everything is reduced, the world is reduced outside, and only this focus on good neurotransmitters is happening. So this is the reason we like Seva. Baba says, Seva is your meva, Seva is your gift. Because when we are in that connectivity with Baba, when we do Seva without any attachment, then we automatically get meva. Meva is this very good dose of good neurotransmitters. Dose. So we get oxytocin a lot, we get serotonin a lot, we get dopamine a lot. So what happens when we are in deep body consciousness, very deep body consciousness. We are, especially when anybody or I'm feeling emotions of frustration, anger, blah blah blah, and all these negative emotions, when the body consciousness is very tight, so then the stress response gets activated, and this is the entire cycle of stress response. So the same pituitary, this is the seat of the soul. And when we forget we are soul, when we forget we are in connection with Baba, so either we are fighting or we are running away. It is called fight or flight response. And human beings were designed to have this fight or flight like once in a while. Suppose if there is a sudden danger, you have to protect your family. So we start gathering this energy. So what happens when we are stressed out? Stressed out, this CRH, corticotropin releasing hormone, it starts getting activated from pituitary, and then it goes into the blood. From the blood, it activates adrenocorticotropin stimulating hormone, and then it activates our adrenal glands, which are above our kidneys. So when on a very stressful day, we just sometimes press our kidneys that it has been a tough day. We are trying to calm our adrenal glands. And when adrenal glands are activated in a stressful situation, there is a release of cortisol. So when cortisol is released, we can act these days we can actually measure the stress levels with the amount of cortisol in the blood. And people can even predict which disease are you going to have if you have that level of cortisol. So when the cortisol in the blood is that high, we are in flight or a fight situation. You will always find in stressful situations, people actually feel either very hungry or not hungry at all. Some people will eat a lot because they are in stressful situation, and some people won't eat at all because they are because they um because they are in stressful situation. What cortisol does, it goes to the liver and it starts at bringing glucose into our body, into our bloodstream, to fight the situation. So Baba says in the Murli, do not fight, give situation a flight. Go to Baba, and whenever we go to Baba, we reduce the stress response. So instead of looking how and why, what can I do about this situation, it releases more and more cortisol because we are in body consciousness. The moment we shift back to I, the soul, here, where is it? Go back. The moment we shift back to my original nature is soul, I am a sweet child of Baba, cortisol starts to get low, and all these good neurotransmitters starts to happen. Release. Like for example, today was example. My example was, I give an example from today. I got a study grant approved, and I had to collect the documents of those study grant on I in my head it was Wednesday, but I just looked at the information that was given to me. I had to collect those papers from the office on Tuesday, and I suddenly had, oh my God, Tuesday was yesterday, and it was just before I was about to leave the house for Seva. And I said, Tuesday was yesterday, and I forgot to collect my papers. And here, if they're very strict with these things, very strict, that if you are not present that day, then you have to repeat the entire process and everything again. Immediately, I said, Baba, you take care of it. I was not aware. You take care of it. I went to the place where they were supposed to happen. I called a cab immediately, and I had a train to catch in those 45 minutes. Went to the place. It was completely empty. The girl said, "Oh, you can still collect it today because you are on a different margin. So because of your previous qualification, you can collect those cans any day." Like,
Bro-
okay, and
Brother, sorry, can you speak a little bit slower because there's some
okay, okay, slower,
resistance.
slower. Okay, slower. Okay, so in that point, the response, instead of, oh my God, what has been done? I said, Baba, this belongs to you. And everything became very smooth after that. Everything that was supposed to happen happened. And I saved so much of cortisol to go into my blood. What happens? What happens to have this kind of consciousness that whenever situation comes, we remember Baba. Traffic control plays a very big role. What happens with cortisol? It has been shown throughout the day that around 11 or 12, our cortisol level in the blood is automatically very high. And then towards the end of the day, it starts to go down. At every hour, Baba has designed traffic control, 3 minutes of pause. So even if when Seva started and Dadi Prakashmani was the head of Brahma Kumaris, all the brothers and sisters went to Dadi. Dadi, we are not getting enough time for yoga. The Sevas have expanded so much. And then Baba gave traffic control. Since then, Madhuban has and centers and retreat centers have traffic control. So when traffic control happens, no matter how busy we are in seva, and when we get busy, naturally, um, body consciousness happens. Naturally, there is a sense of body consciousness when we are busy. But when traffic control happens, we become easy. We focus here, we stop everything. Some people scan the body, some people just focus here, or we just listen to the song. That break for 3 minutes of pause, it reduces our cortisol in the blood. So if we are busy in seva, we are going somewhere, we are giving a lecture, there would be some sort of cortisol traveling around in the blood. And once it goes down, it takes a while to come it back up. And then there is another traffic control, and then another traffic control, and then another traffic control. So at the end of the day, when the cortisol level is not that high, it helps us to prevent burnout. We are able to sleep better. Traffic control plays a very important role. Finally, I know there will be 15 minutes of session. I have two more slides. I'll take 2 or 3 more minutes. When this institute from India, they invited the brothers and sisters from the centers around the state called Karnataka. What they found, this little area of the brain, in medical terms, this is called ventral striatum. And this is where the density of neurons that release dopamine is very high. They found out that in this region, the region became thicker, it became more dense. The number of dopamine neurons increased in this region during the lifetime of Raj Yoga meditation practitioners. And the most important aspect of this study was they found out that the happiness levels of someone who was 20 years in Gyan or someone who was like five years for Gyan were the same, because Baba always asks us to do Purusharth. Baba says you have high level of happiness, they come down, bring yourself back up. They will come down, bring yourself back up. So Baba never blesses that you will always be happy. Baba always blesses you have happiness. You need to keep the happiness with you. In the last Murli, Baba said in Avyak Bab Dada, Baba has given Avinashi, the account of happiness that is not indestructible. Keep it safe with you. So our brain actually changes over the period of time, and the reward value of the meditation increases. So when we connect with Baba, if we have been in connection with Baba for a very long time, the reward that we get, the feelings we get with that connection, they are very, very strong, very, very loveful, and very rewarding. In the end, so I had a feeling. So there is a change of neurotransmitter when we meditate. But what happens when we study or read Murli, when we in a Murli class? So I looked at the Murli of that day. The first thing that Baba says in that Murli is sweet child, sweetness. The first, no matter how the day was, sometimes very I like it, no matter how the day was, you sit in front of Baba and Baba says, sweet child. And what do we want in relationships? Sweetness. We want sweetness in relationships. So immediately we feel the connection with Baba. So there's a release of serotonin and oxytocin. We feel the connection and we feel the sweetness. Baba says, sweet, sweet children. And then Baba in every Murli, nearly every Murli, reminds us of our aim and objective. So motivation, action. So we start, yes, Baba, we are going to do it. Yes, Baba, we are going to be Sampoon. Yes, my hand is always up. I am the one in the rosary of eight. Dopamine. Baba motivates us. And the very interesting thing I found recently, when we let go, Baba says, give all your burdens to me. So when we let go and give it to Baba, when the brain is not stressed out, the dopamine level starts to increase. And when Baba gives us Mansa Seva and Sakash, we feel connected to the entire world. There is a release of serotonin and oxytocin, especially when Baba says, reduce waste. When we reduce the waste, the level of GABA increases. So, over the period of time, by practice and practice, the neurochemistry of the brain, which was cortisol and fear dominated, becomes reward, becomes wellness dedicated, dominated. And the best example who did that, we all know her, is Dadi Janki. The best example. In the 1980s, 1978, they did a brain scan of Dadi and they found out that her mental state was always stable. They gave her some mathematical calculations to do. They pinched a little needle. Even that did not disturb Dadi. It says she is described as the most stable mind in the world. Imagine the level of neurotransmitters always stable and nothing could deviate that. The gyan was full in Dadi's brain and the brain adopted Prakati Jeet as we call in Hindi. So Dadi always said, I have the power to create the feeling I desire. The feelings don't create me. Soul has the power to create what I want. And Dadi always says, Pakka, promise me that you are going to be on the same path. So everybody says Pakka, Pakka. That yes, Dadi, we remind ourselves we'll follow the same path. So with this, thank you very much for inviting me. It was such a pleasure to share the vibrations with people. I'll take questions, then I have one more experience to share. So we have 10 minutes to question, and I have 1 minute I'll share experience.
Yes, thank you so much. It was really very clear to us
Oh,
what
very
is,
good.
yeah. And there is one question here
Mm-hmm.
that says, do you, can you give us some tips of how to reduce the dopamine levels caused by phone scrolling?
Uh, yeah, that is interestingly, I was I was reading about the same thing few days ago. So this is actually we go to our phone, and I was thinking, why do I always go to my phone? Is to reduce anxiety when we are not unsure. We are not unsure. We always go to reduce our anxiety. And or we are bored. I wrote five things. Unsure about something, overwhelmed by a situation, there is anxiety, and boring when we are bored. Four major things when we always touch our phone. At least when I said when I touch my phone. So I wrote down, okay, these are the four things when I touch my phone. What can I do in those situations? When I'm overwhelmed, when I'm bored, when I'm anxious. So understanding those emotions and what can be done with those emotions is the first step. Awareness that yes, it's the anxiety, and it's the anxiety that is making me to touch my phone every now and then. And the trick here is to mask those anxieties, there is a little release of dopamine when we are distracted by phone scrolling. Little release. And the studies have shown that this is the same pattern that is used by gamblers, which is used by people who do compulsive shopping, and it is an addiction pattern. So once I'm aware, it is actually the anxiety which is causing me to touch the phone, and then addressing that anxiety is the first step to stop always going to the phone. Once we are aware what is making me to go to the phone again and again, once we recognize it, then we do something about it. And everybody is has their own strategy. Like some people will write a journal about it to reduce it. Some people might develop a new hobby. To development of new hobby is also important. Some people would develop a reading habit instead of going to the phone again. Something that it is also an indication to start doing something for ourselves that we have not been doing for a long time. Start a hobby again. Start something that is very enjoyable to us that we have not been doing. So all these things will help in reducing the phone, and it is a process. There's no trick and trips in between. It is a process like any addiction. It will take its own time and it will have its own strategy. But awareness that yes, I'm doing it is the first step. I can't hear you.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I
Yeah.
turned off my yeah, awareness is very important in
Mm,
everything, even when we too much or we don't eat. Uh,
mm,
we should understand what's happening and just make the
mhm.
shift. And of course, Baba helps a lot, and we are very fortunate we have Baba in our lives, and this knowledge that really sustains us in every situation. Um, I don't see any other questions here. Let me check again. Uh, uh, there is something here. Yesterday, I had
Just, yeah.
an extraordinary experience with someone who has seizure. I can share what happened if you're interested, listening and taking this person. Uh, I can connect you. The question is that can Raja Yoga heal seizure altogether?
Can what?
Seizure. Uh,
Caesars.
yeah.
I can't even chat.
You know the illness, brother, seizure.
Yes. Yeah.
Seizure.
Yeah. Caesars.
You,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, neuropathic and
Neuropathic. Yeah.
yeah.
So in any kind of mind body interaction, both both things are complementary. The modern medicine and meditation, they both combine together for healing process. So like Dr. Mohit Gupta, when he had cancer of the brain, he did both. So modern medicine also helps, and Raj Yoga meditation also helps. So they both combined together. We cannot discard what the science has given us because that's also beneficial. And Raj Yoga meditation on top of that um, helps to maintain the stability back in the brain. So they both are together. And the more feeling we have, this Baba is working through my brain, the more feeling and connection people have shown, the faster is the recovery. So both helps.
Okay. There is another question. Where in the brain does awareness emerge?
So consciousness is everywhere. The whole brain takes part in the consciousness. It's not one point. Our the entire brain takes part in understanding consciousness. It's not a single region. Someone raised the hand.
Uh, yes, somebody raised hand. I
Anna,
don't know
yeah.
if it's by chance. Also,
And the
uh,
pineal gland you didn't speak about. Yeah, yeah. Pineal gland is it respon it I studied pineal gland mostly in the terms of maintaining our circadian cycle. It releases melatonin mostly, and it makes a sleep and awake cycle. The most important was to address the pituitary gland that is majorly responsible for addressing the neurochemical shift. Pineal gland has its own role, but that could be a very completely different talk.
Brother, I have a question.
Yes.
Yes, we are Brahmins and we can, the feeling, we can connect, we can produce good feelings, listening morely, any solution. But for a Lokic person, how can they create if their environment is all against the, good feelings?
Mm,
How can they manage their chemistry by creating? How they can create the feeling, good feeling?
mm. So a lot of studies has been done because most of the work on creating good feelings was not done by Brahmins. They have done by the Lokic souls. So in all these years of learning new neurochemistry and now neuroscience and now psychology is small changes throughout the day that helps a lot in maintaining neurochemistry. For example, having a meal with the loved one. For example, when you are sitting with loved one and having a meal or calling your loved one throughout the day. And the most important part is giving ourselves like breaks during the day. For example, someone is going through a very stressful situation, giving themselves a break, and just one very good thing is the dominant hand on the heart and the left hand on the stomach. Just sitting like this for 10-15 minutes will be the start of calming down the nervous system. And when the nervous system starts calming down, the good feeling starts to emerge. But so very small changes throughout the day, very positive actions throughout the day, they start changing good feelings. It could be exercise, it could be calming yourself down, good food, a lot of different things can be done, and then the feeling starts to change. But consistency is the key. Consistently, these things done will starts to shift our feeling. Not in 1 day, 2 day, might take months, but little positive changes starts changing the feelings. Okay.
thank you, brother. There is another question, even though the time is
Mhm.
running. If experiences are missing during critical periods at a young age, can this cause the inability to think clearly, be flexible, and have difficulty in getting in touch with feelings?
Yes, early life stress has a very big role to play because it makes our nervous system in a very heightened state. Our nervous system is always very heightened if positive experiences are missing in the childhood. But yes, there have also been studies and also experiences from people that this can be overcome. We need sometimes help from psychotherapy. We need to be with people who by themselves have very good regulated nervous system or just a connection with themselves, connection with nature. Yes, it is true, it happens, but it's also true it can also be overcome, and people actually overcome the lack of experiences during childhood.
Thank you, brother, so much. We didn't let you share your experience. You said you would
Oh,
like.
just one. So when Brother Yogesh was here in Dublin, he gave his talk and he said Dadi Janki sent him to Turkey. And as soon as he said that, I had a vision of Mediterranean Sea and all the countries around the Mediterranean Sea, and all of them covered with Baba's light. And I had a feeling that's where my next part is. So, and just after 1 week, he said, "Would you like to give a talk?" I said, "Yes." Baba already touched me with this.
You so much, brother. Yeah, good.
Lovely. My
Yeah,
privilege to experience such a good energy from all the Brahmins, the love, the connection with Baba, and the vibrations I can actually feel here. It's so filled with vibrations here. So absolute privilege for me to be a part of this Brahmin family.